Hello, friends and brothers. Welcome to Masonic Improvement. I am Dennis Yates, your host, and along with our inner circle members. And boy, we've got a bunch of brothers here tonight, which I'm very glad for because we moved it to 8 o'clock, and last week it was crickets. Man, I was worried. Nobody showed up, and then I realized at the end when everybody started showing up that that they were just planning on being there at the regular time. So welcome to the show. I'm glad you guys are here. Um, Tonight, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I wanted to hear from each one of you guys, and we're going to do this in a little bit different format as to basically each one will take turns and tell us who your mentor was. And I'm gonna tell you, it's no big secret. I have two that are my main mentors, and that's Brad and Chris, Brad Kohanke and Chris Williams. They have been for years and years now. So when it comes to my turn at the end, you will be hearing about both of them, but I won't. I'll try to take up about the same amount of time as you guys take. So instead of having a discussion about your particular um, mentor amongst the group right after you give your guide, then we're going to go to the next one, and we're going to go through all of us tonight, and then at the end, then we can all just break out in normal discussion fashion like we usually do, and just have a discussion about all the different characteristics of what we believe our mentors brought to the table, and how they can help us all in the future. But I wanted to bring something positive to the world of Freemasonry today by doing this, and I know that each and every leader here has had people that have helped them along the way, and whether it was giving them a nudge to go for it, to try to do something, um, giving them the pat on the back after something well has been accomplished, or giving them the nudge to shut up when it's time to shut up. I've had those nudges before, and I've taken them, by I've taken them and not been upset at all after taking them. I realized that that was the right thing for me to do. But we need those guys in our lives, and so that's what tonight's going to be, if that's all right with you, inner circle guys.
Totally okay here.
I assume so because you didn't all just drop off at the same time. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go based off of the first person on the bottom that I see on my screen, which is Josh Kovar. Josh,
You, I
tell
knew
us
you were going to do this to me.
tell us about your mentor, and if you have two, then keep it a little bit shorter than you would have. But if it's just one main one, then tell us about them, and,
Well,
and tell us
that's
how that person has impacted your Freemasonry.
that's a loaded question because I've been lucky enough to be around enough brothers to learn a little bit from everybody on our travels around the state. But thinking of the context of what you said, who was there to encourage to move to the next level or do this or give you a nudge to shut up or give you a nudge that hey you need to say something, then I'm gonna have to say it's my good friend and brother right works for Roy Burris because we've been I don't know how and it's weird and neither one of us know how this relationship just bloomed together. I have a few ideas, but I mean we're always doing something together, and he's always there to encourage me to do this and do that, and I'm there to help him do stuff that he wants to do. So, yeah, in the context of giving you that nudge, it's going to have to be Roy.
Nice. Is there any particular time when he's made a an impact that you'll never forget?
Impact that I'll never forget.
Gives all the rest of you guys to think about it, because I'm gonna that'll kind of be where it leads to for each one of y'all.
I mean, when I don't know. It's kind of weird. That's a hard question to answer. You know, he's entrusted me to help him with his district stuff this year. I mean, we've you know gone around, and then for him to have that trust in me to help him serve our district here is pretty impactful to me. I think of myself as a lonely old past master. I'm still a baby to some of this stuff. I've only been raised for 6 years, and here we go. I'm fixing to be two-time past master, going to another be a worship master and DCO and everything else we're doing. So, you know, it's just stuff like that. So yeah, it's him trusting me to do some, help him do some of the stuff is pretty impactful to me, I guess.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's Roy encouraged me years ago as well, and I love Roy to death. The next person up is Byron Weber. Who do you attribute
Okay.
all your Masonic success to?
Well, it's funny though. You guys, y'all know I come from a a little bit different background and got a little different path going here. I to moved out into the hinterlands and didn't know nobody, and I had been talking with several dudes about becoming a Mason. Um, but here lately, I got to tell you, the guy that's inspiring me more than anyone else is J. Lester Taylor, and I don't know if any of y'all know him. He is a long time guy, uh, 60, 70 years, a Mason, something like that. And he lives just, a couple of blocks away. So he's the guy that's that's he helping me learn the work, in the furtherance of getting my certificates. Um, he's also the guy that I turn to and go, man, I'm saying this. What do is this new? And the answer is invariably no, it's not. Um, but he's just a prince among men, just a terrific dude. Um, and I can't say enough great things about Jay Lester. He's just awesome.
Nice. Is there any particular thing that stands out to you?
Yeah, it's uh, it's kind of hard to quantify and put into words, but just the way this guy has made himself available to me. I know I can call Jay Lester as long as I'm not trying to call him while he's asleep. And he's 95 years old, so he sleeps a little bit. But if I call Jay Lester and say, "Hey man, I need to bounce something off of you," if he doesn't pick up the phone, he's calling me as soon as he gets up. It just I don't know how else to put it. I really don't. It just that kind of dependability is almost unheard of today, and it's the thing that I love about him the most.
For sure, for sure. That's an excellent quality of in a man and a Mason. Definitely as a mentor. Brother Tom, Tomas.
Okay. uh, a few of you guys probably know my main mentor, which would be Justin Jones. And I was kind of blessed that the lodge I joined, he happened to be in. And it was kind of strange because I found out about this podcast from listening to another podcast, and they had a Justin Jones on there. And I'm like, wow, he sounds a lot like the guy that I know. And Justin never even mentioned he had a podcast, but I learned I can credit Masonic Improvement for most of my knowledge as I was coming up through the degrees. And usually anything that I have to say, either in open lodge or whatever, I kind of bring it past Justin to kind of correct me because I don't want to misspeak on something and say something I'm not supposed to. So he's been a big impact, and also his dad Curtis, because he's been doing a lot longer than Justin, and it they kind of have they don't agree totally on everything, so it's kind of cool to get two different viewpoints. But as I was coming up, I did a lot of traveling in other lodges, so I have like I wouldn't call it really mentors, but it's just like a tight circle of people that I interact with, and I'll run things by. But there's not any one person. Like I said, most of them are. It's with Justin most of the time, but and I haven't yet had that experience where there was just like an oh wow, this is life altering. But I've only been raised a little over a year, so I'm sure that's probably going to come in the future here at some point. But yeah, Justin is the main guy that I go to.
Well, you got a great one there. He'll never steer you wrong intentionally. That's for sure.
No, not at all.
And if he was here, I would crack some jokes. But since he's not here, then I won't crack any jokes about him. I will not talk about a master mason behind his back. I will talk about him in front of his face. All right, the 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 king of spreadsheets himself, Zach Haston. I'm glad you joined us tonight, Zach. This is a
Hey, thanks for sending me the link.
this is a good one for I think for people to hear from you, because I think everybody attributes successful Freemasonry in Texas to you. Um, Everybody that knows you knows that you care about our fraternity and work hard for it every day with Grand Lodge and beyond.
You do. All right. Well, you said mentors, which is
Yes,
a little bit different than the person who teaches you the work usually. Not
yes.
always, but in my case, it is. So we've got a great team of guys at Arlington that teaches the work to everybody coming through, and I'll just say wonders about them at a different time. But the person I'm going to throw out there is James Kirkpatrick, who
Uh-huh.
can be amazingly serious and thoughtful about a lot of things. Uh, he kind of took me under his wing as I was going through the chairs, which took a long time at Arlington. It's like an 8-year line to get up there. So each step along the way, he's encouraging. He's helping with the ritual. He's you know after the ritual is there, which I pick up on ritual pretty easily. He he moved on to all the other advice on how to run a lodge and all the other things as you're going through the chairs. But even since, it's been a while now since I went through the East, and he continues to offer advice and suggestions. And no, don't post that comments, and which are appreciated.
Yes.
But yes, James took me under his wing, and I owe a lot to James. He's put me in positions to do a lot of degrees, which I enjoy, um, and gets me out there, gets me moving around the state, um, gives me advice all the time. So we talk quite often, and yeah, I think the world of the guy.
Nice. Yeah, it took me a while to really nail nail down James. I mean, he always online, he really tries to, to squash any kind of conflict by
Hmm.
making taco jokes, right?
He does.
And everybody knows it. And I used to say, golly, this guy just doesn't take anything seriously. But then I sat down with him a couple of times and got to know him, and yeah, he's got a good heart, and is a damn good Mason for sure.
He absolutely is, and he takes it all seriously. Yes, on you guys only see the taco comments, which he puts
Yes.
on there. He did that. He started that a number of years ago. There was some flare up on Facebook on Texas Freemasons, and he jumped in with "I like tacos,"
Yeah.
and that's kind of been his thing ever since. It's like nobody can gripe about tacos, right?
Exactly.
Everybody loves tacos.
There's a taco for everyone.
That's right, and he's not picky on his tacos. So that little calming of the waters that he throws out there, that's very intentional.
Yes, yes, for sure.
He is not just all jokes. Uh, he does that to lighten the mood and get rid of controversy and discord, which God bless him for. We need more of that.
For sure. For sure. Brad Parkinson. Glad to see you, Brother Brad.
Thank, thank, thank you very much, and a wonderful topic for this evening. And I appreciate the 8 o'clock mark because, man, I'm an early to rise guy, so that 9 o'clock was tough for me. So awesome, excellent. Um, yeah, obviously, I got many Masons I can name, but I got a couple that I really want to mention. Arturo de Hoyos. About 7 years ago, I put out on Facebook that I was the biggest fan of Albert Pike, and he reached out to me. And since then, got many text messages, conversations. Art has been a mentor to me. Even when I failed a few times, he's reminded me that we are all rough ashlers. And I respect Art, love him to death. And I just, I mean, the highest ranking Masons, why does he need to talk to me? And yet he's taken many days of his life to communicate with me, and I can't speak highly enough of him. So yeah, Arturo de Hoyos is definitely one of my mentors. And I know this is about general, but I can't the mentor, who taught me the work in Arkansas, Tommy Doolin, older gentleman, love him to death. I'm from the north, he's from the south, and we bonded like glue. I can't tell you how much respect I have and love for the man that taught me the work in Arkansas. I will never, ever, ever forget that man. I love him to death. And you know why I'm on here? Bradley Kohinke. I don't know if he's a mentor of mine, but we are on the same wavelength. We're vibrating at the same thing. I love Bradley. I love you guys. I love so many Masons, and I can go on and on and on, but I just wanted to throw that out there. I love my brothers.
Nice.
And yeah, I could go on, but I'm going to leave it at that. Those are three men that I will probably never forget. Good men.
Those are good choices for sure. For sure. I
Yeah.
think everybody can agree.
Yeah.
Jeff Messer. How the heck are you, Brother Jeff?
I'm good. I'm good. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Um, so when I read this earlier today, I had an answer, and then as I got on the phone and I got on the Zoom a minute ago, I thought of a different one. So I've had some really good conversations recently with Jeff Bennett. Um, we've had some really good conversations, and they've meant a lot to me. So I think I would say Jeff, and the other guy that I was thinking of would probably would probably not want me to mention his name because he's kind of a private guy. But let's just say that that guy's been a huge help to me in any number of ways, both internally, externally, operationally, in the lodge, um, just in a lot of ways. And our relationship did not go off, did not start well because he challenged pretty pretty loudly why I wanted to affiliate with a particular lodge, and I was extremely disappointed. But we have since become very close. So those would be my two.
Nice. Nice. And I'm assuming, yeah, I was assuming that that person that you didn't want to mention their name was probably a member of your lodge.
No, well, now that I'm affiliated with it, yeah. But to get started, no.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, and that happens a lot. A lot of times our mentors don't show up until later on in our journey. Brother Larry.
Yes, I think I would have to say my mentor would be my father-in-law. I guess probably ex-father-in-law. I've been divorced in 2002, was married in 274, and even after I divorced, uh, we stayed real close. He lived in Waco. I live in Moody, about 27 miles away, and I tell you what, he was a soft-spoken, but he was a Mason. He believed the lodge, and he went regularly, and he was active in the shrine, the circus. He always worked in that. I think that was his thing, working on the circus, and I learned a lot from him. And My dad was a Mason, but he demitted because of some folks at the church had problems with that. And so rather than raise a stink, he just demitted and did it that way. So, but my dad always supported the lodge. But my father-in-law, I would have to go with him. He's passed away, sad to say. Passed away about 3 years ago.
Well, sounds like
Good
you
man.
need to find another mentor.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm looking. I'm looking.
That's all right. They come
Always
around.
did.
They come
keep piling
around
on me.
without you realizing it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Your father-in-law, even after divorce, having that brotherly bond and being able to
Yeah.
stay close. That says something about our brotherhood that a lot of people don't realize. Um, it's different from the outside world, from the profane. That's for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right, Brother Hoff, it's your turn.
All right. Well, I've got a few. I'll be quick. The first one was my worshipful master. He was the worshipful master when I became a master mason. When I was an EA, he would travel around to different lodges and bring me along with him as an EA. And this guy, Buzz, that would come with us, he would always make a joke that the worshipful master was hungry and his wife was out of town, so we had to travel to another lodge so he could have a meal. And so that was kind of the joke, the running joke, that the worshipful master was hungry, so we got to travel. But traveling was the word that I wanted to key in on because that taught me to travel and meet other Masons and other lodges, and I really enjoyed doing that. The next one was basically one I never even met him until later on. But as a new Master Mason on Facebook, I would see the Grand Master in 2022 all over the place saying, you guys need to get out here and travel and bring your family and do things with your family and masonry. And Brad Billings was a big mentor to me without even him knowing it until later on, or maybe until now, unless he probably won't see this. But he was a big mentor to me just by watching him, a young man, very active, and it got me excited about being a Mason. And lastly, the last one, and I can't believe none of you guys have said it, but Dennis Yates. Dennis Yates has been a big mentor to me later on in my learning about just all the stuff that we talk about on every weekend. But when I reached out to Dennis asking him for help with my lodge, he basically helped me carve vision and mission statements. Um, I got a rough draft from my lodge, and then I gave it to him, and he reworded it. Um, he taught me to travel and read books and learn by reading and exploring and peeling the veil back on topics. And Dennis, you're a good friend of mine, and I'm glad to call you a friend. And when I went down to the Lexington and got to be part of the Master Mason degree down there, we got to hang out and talk late into the evening, and that was a good time. And I've always looked up to you, Dennis, and you're a good guy. And I appreciate all the stuff that you've done for me, brother.
Man, that's touching. I love you, Brad. I do.
Love you
That's
too, bro.
that was tough, man. I started wanting to tear up a little bit. Dang. Now I know I'm gonna get the same from this next person, so I won't even, I won't even expect it, Jason. You don't have to go there, But Jason Reichenberg, Jason and I have been close friends for a long time, and I think. Well, I'll just save my remarks for later.
Look, I'm just going to preface it with saying you're welcome, Dennis, for everything that I have done for.
Yes.
Well, to be honest, Dennis is going to talk about, Brad Kohanke and Chris Williams, but, Dennis and I came into the Scottish Rite and together. And so it would not be a surprise that both he and I have learned a lot from those two. I actually did think about this. Um, I I don't know that I've ever really pointed to one or even two people that I've ever really considered mentors. I've been more of a watch and learn and read on my own. Um, for what you should or should not be doing. I've never really had that kind of close, relationship. To be honest with you, I didn't really actually start talking with Brad, kind of one on one a lot until he actually left for Arkansas. Um, we talk a lot more now because of different things, um, but also, there's also the idea that not only can you learn what to do from watching others, um, but also what not to do. I've learned so much from observing what you should not be doing, how people interact, and treat each other and everything. And so I've certainly learned a lot from that. However, in saying that, there is one guy, and yes, this goes back to my Elks days. I understand, but um, when I was coming up through the San Antonio Elks, we had a secretary, and I believe he's actually still there. Um, and I had one past exalted ruler that they didn't get along, and he's like, yeah, during your year you should really try and replace him because he just doesn't do what he's supposed to. And we had our equivalent to the district deputy visit during my year, and that secretary had I walked in that morning and felt like I was not ready. Like I felt like I hadn't prepared. I was like I can't. What was always supposed to? Everything was laid out. Everything the district deputy, the district team was looking for was all out there. And I came to realize after a couple of years that this guy was one of the best secretaries for the Elks in the state of Texas. And I learned a lot from him without really working with him one-on-one, but just observing what he did, how he, he would take notes during the meeting, but he wouldn't interject. He wouldn't, oh, you're doing this wrong, or no, you should be doing this way. He would offer advice when asked, but he was not one to just jump out there with his opinion and no, you guys shouldn't be doing this and that. He was very much a support and a help when the exalted ruler needed it. And I, as much as people joke that, I try and run everything, I really don't. And especially in a secretary's role, my job is to support that worshipful master. And that was the approach that I took when I became Secretary of Guadalupe Lodge. And I called him maybe about a year into it. And I told him, I said, I'm secretary of this lodge now. I seem to be doing a pretty good job. I want to thank you because it was from your example that I learned what it was to be a fraternal secretary. And of course he was appreciative of that and everything. But anyway, if you want to know, his name is Jack Huggins. He's with the San Antonio Elks Lodge. Anyway, but I think that would probably be the closest anything I had to a direct mentor, even though he didn't do it directly. But anyway, but yeah, of course you got Brad and Chris, and I'll let Dennis expound on their many wonderful attributes.
Well, and that's interesting that you mentioned the secretary. Being a secretary, I can tell. No, just kidding. No, but I can tell you that there have been several secretaries and treasurers out there that have made a big impact on my Masonic experience, because they're always having to grind away for the lodge and never looking for a whole lot of accolades in return for that. And so I just got to throw that out there, that you're right, man. They're the silent warriors in our lodges that most people don't recognize, but they've had a huge impact on my life, on my Masonic life. Um, and Jason, I truly believe that, I feel like, not only are you a dear friend, but you are one of my mentors as well. I feel like most of you brothers here on this show have well, really all of you have contributed to my Masonic experience. Some more so than others already, because I've spent a lot of time with you. But each and every one of you have brought something to the table, and that's something that's really important to remember, in my opinion, is that we do learn a little bit of something from everybody. And I think Jason really, he was probably thinking about me whenever he was saying that, he learned a lot of what not to do. I'm that guy that, trial by fire. I'll do it. I'm not afraid. I'm not scared. I'll just run out there and do it. But yeah, there's a lot of people that teach us a lot of things in this fraternity. Yes, Bradley Kohanke and Chris Williams are my 1 and 2 mentors. Brad more so than Chris, just because I've spent more time. He's spent more time with me, developing me as a better human. Now Chris does the same thing, but Chris does it in a different way, and he only tells me when I really screw up, and that's what I love about Chris, is that he really doesn't care who I am. He's gonna call me up on the phone and say, you really screwed up, and you got to fix this, or don't put yourself out there like this. You're hurting yourself by doing it. He's been more of a protector to me, and Brad's been more of a nurturer to me in my Masonic journey as far as mentorship goes. And that was one of the things that I was thinking when I thought about this topic for all of us, was that we do have characteristics that we get from different mentors. I remember traveling around a lot with Mike Calhoun when I first joined Goliad Lodge as a senior deacon, and he was worshipful master that year, and we traveled around a lot. And then when he became district deputy grand master, we traveled around even more. In fact, so much so that we really began all traveling together. I mean, Josh just got in on that as I was starting to fade out of doing that period. Josh had just started joining that period. And so, that was one of the coolest things that I thought that our lodge could do together, was travel together to different lodges and different degrees, and learn from each other as we went. Because, when you're in a closed, well, unless you get thrown out of the truck, but when you're in a closed vehicle with 6 other guys going to and from a degree, you have nothing to do but to hash it out. So, and that's where I learned a lot of my, what do you call it, tenacity, is being with those guys and being the only one in the truck that feels a specific way, and just battling it out with them until I won at least one of them over, and then I was good. But I never would get everybody. Somebody would give in to where I'd finally shut up. But we always had great discussions and debates in Freemasonry and life in general, and that was great. But then as I grew in my different responsibilities in my Masonic life, and then looking at different areas where I could make an impact, or help um, in other areas of South Texas, I pursued that instead of um, focusing on my Blue Lodge as much. I kind of veered away and did that, which I don't regret, because my lodge has been just fine. Because we've got people like Josh in there, and Roy, and different brothers in there that really make a difference in my lodge. Not every lodge has that. And so that's why I feel like it's imperative that I travel a little bit and try to be that little bit of country crazy that they need. But now that everybody has spoken on different characteristics, um, I really enjoyed a lot of different things that I heard tonight with you guys, and I'd like to know what you guys, just take your time, turn one at a time, and jump in, and if there's anything that impressed you along the way, then speak up.
Well, one thing I was thinking about while everybody's giving theirs points, and thinking back when I've divorced, I was so afraid of losing the relationship I had with my uh, father-in-law that was from my ex-wife. I was I was I was so afraid that he wouldn't want to see me and wouldn't be welcome in his house. And not too long after that, I called him, and he invited me over, and we talked, and he just said, just don't worry about it. This is different. I'll always be with you. That's what a Mason is. And he meant it. And the times my son came down when he was at work in college at Colorado School of Mines, he'd come down and we'd go over and visit them at Christmas and so forth. But he really was that. I was so afraid. I, I cried about it. I cried about it, not because I was divorced, but because I was afraid I was going to lose him.
Nice, nice. I will say one other thing real quick though that I had meant to say that I did not say, and that is, Brad, I've learned so much from you in the time that we've spent together. Brad Hoff, I've learned so much from you in the time that we've spent together as well. And well, I can say that about each and every one of you, but I wanted to say specifically to Brad, because in helping with when you first became a Master Mason, that really helped me to take a deep dive and really look at the things that I had learned and what was successful and what wasn't. Because up until that point, I had talked about a lot of things, and I had actually taught it for the education committee for Grand Lodge already. But I really hadn't sat down and thought about the things that I've personally seen work and not work, and how to make them work and not work, and you help drag that out of me, so I'm a lot more secure in what I'm talking about when it comes to that kind of stuff now, because of you help me in that way. And I think that we've all got, you know we may be teachers at some point, but we're still students at the same time. Anybody else?
Yeah, sometimes the apprentice is the master, and sometimes the master is the apprentice.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you helped me big time whenever I was trying to plan to be the worstful master of the year. Um, you did that. Trying to plan a big event that does not fall on a weekend where anything else is going on in masonry is really hard. But we put our heads together and we put together a really good event for Roy City. And I think that you and me and Justin and the guys, we all helped put Roy City on the map. and really drove it home and actually attracted a lot of interest at Roy City, which was I mean, you helped me do that. I mean, you helped me kind of put my head in and try to learn how, because the guys that were ahead of me in the line, they were just kind of doing what the last 10 guys have done. You know what I mean? And we weren't really getting anywhere. And I was really trying to think outside of the box and how we could really, do something different and meaningful for everybody. Uh, but unfortunately, I mean, the year I served came and went, and then we got right back to doing the same old. So it kind of happens, but I don't count it as a loss because I learned a lot through the process. So
Well, you shouldn't, and you've got a similar event happening with Mercury Lodge over at
yeah,
James A. Smith Lodge in
exactly,
the end of February. So, man, that's a win. You had people walking away that
exactly.
loved the event at Roy City, and now it's going to happen again. So,
That's right.
I would say that's a win. That's a
It
win
is
for Freemason.
absolutely.
One,
There is something to being able to let go. Um, I've told I've been heavily involved in the Seguin York Rite for the past about 5 years or so, and I've told him, I said, after I'm eminent commander this year, and I've told him, I said, it's time for me to move on, and I'm still gonna I'm still gonna be a member, I'm still gonna be attending, I'm gonna support like I always do, but as far as being the primary driving force behind a lot of things, you at some point, um, either what you've done is going to last, or it's not, and just to stay around just because you want it to keep going, it it's eventually going to have to end. And if the companions or brothers have fully bought into what you've done, they'll continue it, and that success, any success that you've had, will continue. But if not, then maybe it wasn't meant to be, or it's just a different focus. But um, to try and because I've seen this, I've seen guys in their late 70s, early 80s, still just down in the weeds because they just can't let it go. And it's like, at that point, you should be that, you know, elder statesman, that one who provides advice when somebody comes to you and stuff. But as far as like getting in there and saying, well, no, this guy's going to move up and this guy's going to go over here, and you guys need to do like that, that's not a position that I want to be in the long term. It's if it's going to have success in the future, it's other guys are going to have to take up that mantle, and you've got to be willing to let that go, and not be offended by it, and not think that you're somehow not successful because whatever you started, they decided to do something different. It's just the way life is, and I've had to really think about that, because, well, for one thing, I'm tired, so there's that, and then it's just, but other guys need to step up, and other guys need to take up those reins and keep driving that bus.
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and just reinforce that message, and capitalize on it a little bit. There were a number of guys that led me to become a Mason, that have helped me in my Masonic journey. Um, and I'm just going to throw out a list real fast and then explain it. Ingolf Tiny Road, Walter Chamont, Edward Pearson, Joe Jordan, Josh Jordan, James Coleman. These guys are all folks that were either the planters of the seeds that turned into the Masonic tree that I am trying to become, or those were the guys that helped prune and guide and encourage that tree. So Brad, that's what you were doing in your year at Royce City, is you were that guy planting seeds. You were that guy pruning, that guy who was, you know, creating a topiary, if you will. You know, uh, I'm not going to come out and call you Edward Scissorhands, but maybe there's a little truth in there for anybody who does this kind of work. When we get into positions of leadership, we all have a goal to make some sort of a lasting impression, some sort of an impact on our local lodges. And if you're doing that with love and respect, I fail to see how you cannot succeed. You may not get the immediate results you're looking for, but the seeds have been planted and they will grow.
You know, I I can't help but to think about um, Arlington Lodge and all the programs that happen there. It's such a well-oiled machine that takes so many people to make it happen. Um, are there any is there a mentorship program there, or do you just have guys that just naturally go and help and make themselves available? That was one of the common things that I heard from people is this guy always made himself available to me. Do y'all have that? Because y'all seem to have this great success at Arlington that a lot of lodges don't tap into.
So we have a very strong past masters group. Uh, and, and ever since I and the other past masters is, after we're done with the East, we are very much involved with uh, all the workings of the lodge going forward. I mean, I talked to the worshipful master today. I talked to the secretary yesterday. I had a long discussion with the junior warden the day before. Uh, all different topics. Just they're calling about this or they're calling about that. Um, there's a big interaction between us, and Arlington's blessed with a lot of sideliner past masters, and they latch on to the new guys coming through. They there's a lot of mentorship, and one thing that this group especially needs to hear is most of us are past masters. We need to be doing the same thing. It's not you're done, you've done your year in the East and you're done. Go off and do Grand Lodge stuff or York Rite or something else. No, it's Arlington is my lodge. It is my home base. It is where everything starts. It's where I spend the majority of my time, and I'm involved with everything, and that just means offering advice on every little question or problem. From do you call the DDGM worshipful or right worshipful? Easy question, but he didn't know. I can answer that one real quick.
Yeah, that's one of the easy ones.
To more complicated, personnel issues or this, that, or the other, that we, if there's something that comes up, worshipful master is going to have 3 or 4 past masters giving their opinion to him. And so there's a lot of that. And you have a tendency, everyone tends to mesh with someone. So different past masters will kind of take different people under their wings to some degree. We're all helping, the top of the line, but, especially at the lower parts of the line, it could be anybody, that they just bond with, and you're just helping them through. But yeah, when you're done in the East, you are not at all done with your lodge. Not at all. You've figured out a lot of stuff. You need to share all that wisdom and help all those guys. And so, like the the people on the inner circle are very much should be out there mentoring. And that doesn't just apply to lodge leadership. I had a discussion with committee on work about the DIs. We have a lot of A certificate holders in the state that are age 75 plus. They can do the work right now very well, no problem. And in fact, they're so good at conferring the degrees and all that everybody lets them, because I mean, they give the lectures. They're very good at it. No one wants to, try and do as good. I mean, why on earth would you try and take it from that guy? He's absolutely an ace at it. He does a great job. But if we keep with that attitude here in 10, 15 years, we're going to have a problem, because we're going to lose a lot of A certificate holders over that time. That's time for us, the next 10 years, for all those guys to take someone under their wing, find the ritualists in their lodge, and mentor them up. Not just teach them the work, but how you help. Not just the words, but you got to start with the words, right? Find the young ritualists. We all know there's guys that come through, they become master mason and they just latch onto it. So after you're done going through and doing your master's proficiency, the only thing you have to add to get a C certificate is opening and closing the lodges. So start working on that. Try and get every one of those guys that have done their master's degree and their proficiency, to try and get them all to get a C certificate. And then the ones that are keep latching onto it, try and mentor some of those on up, because we need a new generation of guys who know the work. So it applies to lodge administration, it applies to ritual, it applies to the guys who, some people come into the lodge rawer than others, a little rougher, and those guys need to be taken under their wings, giving some good advice to those guys and mentoring them on along. There's different categories, but I mean, this fraternity mentorship is a big part of it. It is. It's all towards us for the first several years, but after that, it needs to turn around and be towards other people.
I absolutely love that, and I will say that while I do a lot of work in other areas of South Texas, Josh knows that he can call me at any time, and I am available to him. And same with Roy or anybody else in my lodge for that matter. That's the way we should be. One of the other curious things about what you just said is when you were talking about the younger guys needing to step up into those roles and start doing them as the next generation. I think some of us feel like we don't want to put the guy out to pasture, but you're right. If they don't have that practice, then it really will leave us in a bind in a few years. And
that's why it needs to start with the older guy.
Yes,
he needs to take someone other. He needs to encourage some guy to do the lecture.
Yes, and that's why I was going to say it reminded me of what Jason was talking about stepping back and giving somebody room to step into that space. And that's important. And I think that, if that's the only two things that anybody learns tonight from this podcast, from this live show, that's golden right there. And that will help Texas Freemasonry, well, Freemasonry around the world. It will help Freemasonry around the world immensely. Those things are the things that aren't necessarily taught in Freemasonry that we need to latch onto, that we do need to teach in our lodges and have programs to promote that in our lodges. I agree 100%. Anybody else? It looked like a few people wanted to talk there for a minute.
I'm happy to jump in.
Go ahead.
All right. The mentorship, as we go on this conversation, it made me think a little deeper, and I'm recognizing that It's a little bit like Masonic education. What does that mean? I mentioned a few names such as Arturo de Hoyos. Well, he didn't teach me the work, but there's an affirmation. I have a belief in what I think Freemasonry is about, and he's affirmed that. And we've had many conversations about my feelings towards our fraternity, and he's affirmed that. So I consider him a mentor in the way where he's expressed affirmation in what I believe. Then my brother Tommy Doolin, who is a certificate holder and knows everything about Arkansas Freemasonry, who taught me the work, he's my mentor. Not philosophically, not historically, but he's my mentor and who taught me to work. Bradley Kohenke never taught me the work, different than Arturo de Hoyos, but questions about where our fraternity comes from makes me think. And he and I are on the same wavelength. So I consider him that a mentor in many ways because he makes me think. Michael Paul in Louisiana, historically, philosophically, is a mentor of mine because the other mentors don't offer the same philosophical aspect that Michael Paul offered me. So all these mentors come into play in my path or my journey through Freemasonry. So just go down the rabbit hole a little deeper and think about what we're saying, like Masonic education. What does that mean? Is it about which way the staff is? The staff on the left, right hand side? That's very different than philosophically speaking. And are we drawn more to our mentor because of affirmation? Because these higher ups think the way we do, rather than they've taught me something. They're affirming what I intuitively know, what I intuitively believe, and I'm drawn to these people. Art, Dennis, Bradley, Michael Paul, Tommy Doolin, past grand lecturers of Arkansas. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. Are they really teaching me? Or that question is, or am I just drawn to people who think alike? A little bit like the inner circle. Anyway, I'll let it go there and leave it open for discussion. Let's go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's a nice thought, because in reality, we do have a certain energy that flows in us that we gravitate to, and that comes across through our demeanors, through our actions, through our words. I mean, every little thing means something, right? And I think that everybody in this inner circle is contributes to that for me. So there's that it it's almost like there's this mystery that I want to learn that only they have, and it creates that draw of attraction that makes me want to stick around and learn more. And some guys are closer to the vest with it, and it's going to take a long time. Some guys are talk about as freely as I do, and so I get to learn quite a bit pretty quick. But I truly believe in that there's a certain energy that we all have that we're drawn to each other, because that can be true with negative or positive energy, or even just neutrality. That there's just certain attractions between human beings that we're drawn towards certain people. And especially when you're talking about leadership, younger minds that are ready to be molded and shaped. Oh shoot, I can't remember that saying. Justin used to love to quote this quote all the time, and I do like it, that when the when the student is ready, the master will appear, or when the master is ready, the student will appear. Some vice versa, whichever way it is, I can't remember. But he used to love to quote that all the time, and there's a reality in that. That you've got these young guys that are attracted to a certain thing, and when the right personality comes along that has that thing, they're drawn to them. The question is if that personality is going to latch on and be that mentor for them or not, or if they're so busy doing their own things they're not thinking about being that mentor. And that's, I think we really need to be mindful of that going along, that we need to be aware when somebody's making an effort to learn from us, to be that teacher.
Dennis, I appreciate that, but let me just quickly state, I'm 62. I think I'm a little older than you. But
Yes,
you're the
you're a
leadership.
lot
I'm
older
not the
than
younger
me.
guy
Not
looking for
just
this.
kidding.
I'm the older guy looking for you. So God bless you for what you do. I love being here. I love being part of the inner circle. And Dennis, you are much appreciated for what you do. Thank you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate the accolades. I don't get them enough. No, just kidding.
Well, I'm giving them to you.
No, I really, it's unnecessary. It is appreciated, but it's unnecessary. I think that the main thing is that we get these points across that we need um, that people are looking for to help themselves and help their lodges, because we're, like I said earlier, we don't always teach these things in lodge, and where else are they going to learn it if they don't have guys like this that are in this group out there to support them? Then how else are they going to learn it?
It's just not the younger guys. It's us old guys too. So
Right, right. Well, and that's especially true in Texas. I mean, Zach, can you, off the top of your head, can you think of the average age of a Texas Mason right now? Isn't it 60 something years old?
Yeah, 68.
68 years old. And you got a lot of these lodges. Most of the lodges that are really struggling only have 4 or 5 members in that lodge. And more than likely, it's 4 or 5 older members that are trying to make it happen. So, if we can affect somebody that can get to them to help them, then it's going to make all the difference in the world.
at 62 years old, I was the youngest guy out of the 50, 60 plus lodges I was in Arkansas. I was the youngest one. So yeah, I can attest to that.
Man. Well, and that's when I was worshipful master. It was hard to be taken seriously in my lodge because I was so young. Josh can attest to that because he's pretty young as worshipful master of my lodge, because there was a lot of older guys looking down saying, well, slow down, kid. Slow down, kid. You're just not there yet.
I command respect in my lodge, so I didn't have that problem. So.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I did. It's funny that you bring that age up. Myself and Roy were having a conversation this morning about some information we got from yesterday's conference, and I happen to realize that we have a lodge in our district that there is no one in that lodge that's under 50 years old. They're either 50 or above.
Wow.
It's just it. And then there's another lodge that only has 4 members that are below the age of 50.
Wow.
It just
You're talking
blows
about,
my mind.
I know which lodges you're talking about too.
You know which 2 I'm talking about, the 2 with the lowest membership in our district, but I won't bring those up right now. But
There's a lot of lodges statewide that are like that.
It's weird that and I just happened to look at the numbers because Roy was asking me about it. I was like, that's. And then we were thinking about one brother that used to work here at the automotive shop, Dennis. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep. Yep.
And he's like, oh no, he's under 50. And we're like, no, he's not. We're like, oh my god. So yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
we were the kids of the group, and Daniel, you just
right,
came.
Kids better get off of my lawn.
Exactly. That's what it boiled down to. By the time we got to master, we were definitely on their lawn, and we could tell. That's for sure.
Well, how about this? I've learned respect growing up, and I was told in Arkansas many, many times, the man with the gavel, that's all there is to it. So if you
Right.
got the gavel, you're the one in charge.
Right. Daniel Dutton, how are you, sir? I'm glad you joined us tonight.
Doing good. I almost did. And I almost chickened out and thought, oh, I gotta get up for work early, but
Oh
I'm
my
here.
gosh. Look
I'm
at
here.
you.
I'm
What
gonna get off my own lawn now.
have you even been listening to us tonight?
Not yet. No, I've been fighting with my headphones to try and get them connected, but
It sounds
decided, oh,
like
I
you've
better
been
get off.
fighting with some head space to find the space in your head to be able to get online at all. So we're talking about mentors tonight. And each one of us went through and we talked about our number one mentor, and in some cases number one and number two. It's your turn.
Okay, thank you. I was waiting for you to finish, Dennis. You didn't take as long as I thought you would.
Oh my God.
But let's see here. Number one mentor, I think, like if we're thinking about masonry, right? I think there's a brother in my lodge who just really took me under his wing as I became a fellow craft or an entered apprentice, fellow craft, and the master mason. And that would be, his name is Kelly Weed. And if you're in the DFW area, you've probably heard of him. But yeah, he's a guy with a big heart, just huge heart. And so that's he started out as one of my big mentors in masonry because of that. Just hey, let me make sure you feel welcome at the lodge. Let me make sure you feel like you're a part of this. Let me get involved with you, and invited my son to a baseball game, to his first baseball game. Because that's something I do. That's just not me too much. But it's like, hey, you want to go to the ball game? Sure, I'll go with you. And he's like, hey, bring your son too. Okay, great. Just really brought the family into masonry.
Nice. So that's all you got is that one?
Well, I could puff you up too, Dennis, and say you and Justin Jones
No,
here on Masonic Improvement.
you can puff up
But and
Justin
that's and
Jones.
that's honest.
I've already had a couple. So you go ahead and puff up Justin Jones.
That's honest because I remember like I got raised to be a master mason in the end of June. Um, so like by July when installation came around, I was able to be installed as a steward, but I was able to also go to the first Masonic Improvement Summit down in Corpus, and then the master's degree on the Lexington. And I think that's where I met some unofficial mentors, right? Some other people
Yeah.
that I look up to in masonry. I would not necessarily say like there's a mentor mentee relationship that's maybe traditional, but like looking at people like Brad Kohanke, Dennis Yates, Justin Jones, anybody who presented at that, right? Honestly, just like, man, my mind was blown because I was like, whoa, this is the masonry I want. This is what I joined for. And these are things that I am learning now. And then as I've followed those people, followed those authors, even gotten into meeting people at Grand Lodge, other things like that. But that's where it started for me, was to be able to come in and be like, oh, here are these people who this is what masonry. I didn't even know that's what I was looking for in masonry. Let me put it that way. But that's what I was looking for in masonry. And I was like, oh, these are the people to look up to. These are the people to understand about this more, right? And to do other things and to be able to learn and be like, oh, there's authors out there. There's people writing about this stuff. And it wasn't just, like an online blog or something like that. It's like, no, this is the actual deep conversation that happens when you're out there and when you're doing these things.
Nice. Man, that is such a great point. Is traveling and learning about the Freemasonry that you didn't even know you were looking for. I can tell you when I joined Freemasonry, I definitely was not looking for the Freemasonry I have today. In many ways, I thought it was one thing, and turns out that yeah, it is that one thing, but it's also four other things that enhance that one thing, or that one thing was just the stepping stone to getting to these other things that really just blow my mind on a regular basis. And ultimately that's what I'm looking for at the ripe old age of 53, is to have my mind blown and to be challenged in my age, so that when I get to the age to where I feel accomplished, I don't feel like I left anything on the table. So right now, I'm really looking for those challenges. And that's what Freemasonry is for me. And it comes intellectually. And it does come with that travel time and the book time. And I didn't have it right away from all the members of my lodge, but I did have it from some members of my lodge, and they taught me that those things were valuable. And then I gained other mentors outside of the lodge. It's been quite a journey for me, and that's something I don't take for granted. That's for sure. You guys are just so silent tonight.
Hey, okay, Dennis, can I throw out a question? You made me. I just thought
You
of
go
something.
right ahead.
Popped into my mind. It's probably irrelevant, but my mentor, Tommy Doolin in Arkansas, I learned, because I came from Illinois to Arkansas, so I had to relearn. I had to learn completely different stuff. I learned all the chairs in one fell swoop. Like we started at the beginning, open and close, all the way through to the end. How many people learn like that? Do you go through like one chair at a time and learn like your one position at a time?
I don't. When I practice anything, like even when I confer, when I'm practicing conferring a degree,
Yeah.
I practice every part of that degree as I go through, because I want to know every piece of it,
Right.
so that if somebody messes up on something, then I know where I am so that I won't lose my place. And so when I practice as
Yeah.
as worshipful master, I always did every chair
Yep.
as I was opening and closing. I did it all myself. That way I knew every part of the
That's
work.
how I learned. So I was curious if anybody else could just put out there, so I know, are we the only two, or is that the procedure? Is that how everyone learns? Because that's how I learned.
Right. Anybody else?
Well,
You know,
I'd first want to ask Dennis. I'd like to see you confer degree. That'd be great. Second,
You weren't a
the
Mason last time I conferred one in Goliad.
I'm gonna be quiet. I know for me, I started learning bits and pieces, and then once I got all the way around the chairs, is then I was able to do what Dennis was saying. I was able to go through and say every part of the opening and closing. I am not fortunate enough to know how to confer a degree yet. I am senior deacon, and I love the senior deacon part, and I just stick right there in my little realm. But for opening and closing, if you've never done it before, and we've got some brothers that are like super scared of trying to learn the opening and closing, but if you've never done it before, I know I was at first, and it was like I don't. It was like no, no, no. But then once you get them in that rhythm of learning it, then they can go through and learn. They learn all of it. I know at floor school we try to rotate everyone. So like if you're our senior deacon, we try to put them in the junior wardens, and a junior warden move to the senior warden, and we try to rotate people around so they kind of learn all the parts while they're not in that chair yet.
Who
Yeah,
else was fixing
so
to jump in?
I
There we go.
had my teacher, and he was a mentor too, but his name's Harry Clark, and he just got actually off of the Grand Lodge bylaw committee this year. Like they just rotated him off, but basically, he still holds a once a week round robin study club every Thursday morning. And I rearranged my work schedule and like worked every Sunday as I was learning all this stuff, so I could have Thursday off so I could go to that study club. And they do one degree every week. So this week would be EA, next week is Philograph, next week is Master Mason. We open an EA lodge, We answer all the questions and answers, and we close an EA lodge round robin style, just like how you get it tested. So when you get a certificate exam, that's how you get tested. Is we do the round robin. So you just got to pay attention to the next part and the next part and the next part. And so you just follow around the table, and each person, when that person's line ends and the next person has to speak, that's the next person's line. And we did that. I did that for a year, and that's how I learned how to do how I got my certificates and everything. But then once we answer the questions, we close an EA lodge, then we would go into the lodge room and actually confer the degree. And then he taught me the lectures as well on our own, but we wouldn't do that here in the round robin thing. But yeah.
If I could
Yeah.
just recommend, don't anybody move out of state, because when you go to a different state, you get all messed up. I'm still teaching the Illinois people how to do the Arkansas work.
That's funny. And we think that doesn't seem that hard, but I've seen brothers come from other states where, you know, the senior and the junior and senior stewards actually have a role, and it's a lot different from Texas. I mean, it's
Right.
a lot different. And so it can be a real, and even the senior deacon, all the different movements that they have up north that they don't have, you know, here in Texas, you know, with the rods and everything during the opening and the closing. It's there's a lot to these different areas that we take for granted in Texas. We feel like we know some work, but golly, those guys, they have it rough up there.
Right.
You
And
know,
I enjoy reading, so I enjoy reading a lot of our older rituals. And honestly, right now, my brain, obviously I have the moral to the story down, but I don't know. It's I'm a little confused right now.
For sure, for sure.
So I got to go to lodge in Nevada several years ago when my daughter got married, and you want to talk about a radically different opening and closing. Holy shnikes, Batman! That was just it was insane because, as you were saying, Dennis, these guys, the deacons take part in the opening and closing much more so than they do here in Texas. And it was almost I just sat there with a big old grin on my face the whole time, just watching all of the differences because that was when I was, excuse me, studying for my C certificate. You know, so I'm looking at the way that these guys go through and open their lodge. I'm like, wow, that is so very different from what we do. But that has held true. I've been now to lodge in 3 different states besides Texas. So I've been to Louisiana and Oklahoma, in addition to Nevada. Nobody opens lodge the same way.
Right.
Nobody closes lodge the same way. These are all very different traditions, and I don't know. I think it would be kind of neat to see how do these traditions evolve according to where those Grand Lodge charters were derived. That might be
That's a cool
a
rabbit hole.
lifetime long freaking, scholarly paper.
It's gonna mess you up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it will.
That's where I am right now. I'm having a hard time. Although Arkansas is inculcated in my brain, I can still open and close in Arkansas and do some work. So thank you, Tommy Doolin.
I can open and close all lodges, and then like Josh, my favorite position is senior deacon. That's usually what I do in conferral nowadays, and except for in the masters, I usually do the second ruffian. That's my very favorite spot. But we have to talk about that off air. I can't really talk
Hey.
about that on air.
It's just fun. It's a fun thing for. It's just fun.
Yes.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle.
And I got to tell you, if it wasn't for now and I personally, I don't really call them my mentors because I call them, the catechism teachers, instructors.
Yeah.
Even though on Grandview it's called a mentor, that's where that catechism instructor is supposed to go into, is where it says mentor. But they they really are. I mean, they're teaching me something that I wouldn't know otherwise. And if it wasn't for the guys in Goliad, man, I would be nowhere. I mean, I still to this day rely on that training that I had in Goliad to get through with the work that goes on today. And if y'all want to know what Goliad looks like, that's what Goliad looks like right there.
Nice.
But it was that training that from those brothers, and it was a few different ones in particular that got me there. Mike Calhoun, Rusty Comstock, um, and way back when it was oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
You can't really.
I'm looking right at him.
Well, you should be able to think of the tobacco juice spit in your face.
I know that Marvin Gunn. Yes, I was sitting there looking right at Marvin, and I couldn't say his name. That's what happens as you get older. But
Also, Dennis, can I throw this out? I don't know if anybody else has this experience, but again, I'm 62. Tommy Doolin, you're right. He taught me the work, but he's 85 years old. He's like my father. He mentored me in many other aspects in life besides teaching me the work. My secretary in Chicago is 84. Same thing. Not about teaching me the work. I love these elderly gentlemen who I respect and love to death. My treasurer at Rubicon Lodge in Arkansas turned 90 last Sunday. Again, these men could be my father. So not only are they my brothers, I look up to them, admire them, respect them. 40, 50, 60-year Masons, Michael Paul, these men are wonderful men. So I respect them as a mentor because they taught me how to behave. Even though I fail at that sometimes, these are good men. Masons are good men, and I love them. And
well,
yeah,
I agree, and you know, saying that while I was talking about ritual and everything, I started thinking about it, and you know, Brad Billings was one of my mentors as well for quite a while, and I still consider him one. I consider Zach Haston one of my mentors. I talk to him regularly. He always gives me the best advice, whether I like it or not. He's going to tell me exactly what I need to hear, and I don't always like it immediately, but I know it comes from a good place, and then I come to love it because I know it was the right thing to say, and so but really we hadn't even had very many of those moments where I didn't agree with him immediately anyways. But I was thinking about the ritual, and I was thinking about, the fact that all of our Grand Masters and Grand Lodge officials, most of them, I won't say all of them, that's a pretty broad statement, but most of them know the work. Most of them are A certificate holders for years. And the one that comes to my mind without hesitation is Tommy Chapman. And Tommy, I mean, he conferred the degree on the Lexington one year, the master's degree on the Lexington one year when I was there, and it made an impression on me because he wasn't even planning on it when it happened. It was one of those things to where the worshipful master just wasn't able to do it, and so he stepped in as Grand Master and did it, and he was spot on. Everybody else messed up, but he did not mess up. And people like that have been mentors to me in a different way. Like you had said, Brad, you know, not everybody has to be in direct relation with me all the time for them to be an impact on my Masonic career. Tommy not only knows the work, but he believes it. And I know he believes it, and it's very evident in the decisions that he's made over the years. Some of the hardest decisions anybody could make, and he's made them and stuck by them. And I truly admire the man as a man above a Mason, but especially as a Mason, but above that, just as a human. I admire him, and he's one of those that, you know, we say hello and shake each other's hands every time that we see each other. He knows who I am, and I definitely know who he is. I love him to death. So you're right. There's people out there that are our mentors that have impacted the direction that we are going in our Masonic career that we don't always realize right off the bat. Somebody else. Brad and I have been talking a lot here.
Well, I would say
There we go.
talk about people that encourage you to do take part in the degrees. And I would have to say I was raised in Richardson Lodge, and we had several brothers that they did a masterful job of doing the work, and you just wanted to just sit back and let them do it and say I don't think I can do that good, but no, they encouraged me and other people to get up there and try, and they encouraged me to get my certificate, and I did. At that time I worked it up to an A certificate, and now I've kind of lost it. I had a stroke in 2002 and I lost the way of talking. I couldn't talk for 2 years. It's a long road, but and I've got brothers that have encouraged me to go back and start doing it again. And they say, well, you can't even tell. Well, I can tell, but I don't know how it sounds me coming out on the other side. But uh, I'm working on it now. I'm looking forward to doing it, and just that encouragement to get in there, try, and if you mess up, we'll be there and help you. Uh, I really encourage that. And I'll tell you another thing. Talking about, I got to get out my Bible that I got when I was raised, because some of these brothers, I forgot their names, and I got to go back and read these names. So okay, to put their face with a name, because unfortunately I'm 73, so I've slept since then. So that's all I got.
You know, and that brings to mind something for me that I did. Anybody else go answer any of the questions at Grand Lodge downstairs? The guy that was downstairs that Grand Lodge had come in and ask questions.
Nah, not
Well,
me.
well, fortunately,
I wanted to, but I never got there.
fortunately, I got down there and he asked me several questions, and one of them was one of the things that made the biggest impact on my Masonic career. And I got very personal, and I don't I don't know that the answer will come up, but you know, when right after I was raised as a Master Mason, I went through my first divorce, or let's say my divorce, because I'm not divorced at this time. So I went through a divorce right after I became a Master Mason, and man, it just tore me up completely. I didn't know what to do with my life. I had grown up with this kid, and she decided to leave me after 20 years, and I was at the very lowest place in my life right after being raised as a Master Mason. I ended up during that process, I ended up just walking away and giving everything to her that couldn't be tied down or sold or whatever, and the worshipful master at that time never once looked at me in judgment. He just asked me if I needed a place to stay. And I had just been raised. He didn't really know me all that long. He had only known me for about a year and a half, and was willing to open up his house to me. The brother that raised me as a Master Mason, um, that actually conferred the degree, he is a retired attorney, divorce attorney, family law attorney, and he actually filed all the paperwork and did all the documents and everything so that that process didn't cost me a dime. And it was that mentorship in that way, that those two people in that moment, that caused me to be the person I am today in my Freemasonry. When somebody asks me if it's at all possible, I'm going to say yes, because they're not asking for no reason, right? If a brother needs me, then I'm going to be there if at all possible in my life. And not everybody has had those kind of experiences. So of course they don't have those heartstrings tied to Freemasonry. But I was fortunate enough to have that at the very beginning of my journey. And I had surgery last week. You've seen me sitting here taking aspirin and stuff like that. By the way, I just swallowed down some BC powders before I started talking just now. Taking all kinds of stuff just to, sit upright today without slurring, because I just had my surgery. And I've had more brothers reach out and asking if they could bring me anything. And I've had people from Houston, from Corpus, from San Antonio, all asking me if they could come out and do anything for me. If I needed a bag of groceries, a bottle of scotch, they were willing to bring it by. I feel like those are the moments when we feel are so insignificant that we help someone else, that ends up being that mentorship opportunity that we didn't even know about. Because those brothers who did that, they embedded that into my heart and soul, to where I'm going to continue to do that for others as I can. And Brad's a perfect example of that. Brad Hoff is a perfect example of that, because everything that I did up in to help Brad, that all came from how I felt from my humble beginnings as a Mason. That was just one way that I was able to give back, like those brothers did to me. Brad was in a pretty tough scenario, in a pretty tough situation that was going to be extremely hard for him, and he asked for help, and I was able to help. So each one of us, like Zach was saying earlier, each one of us has this opportunity to be that person to somebody. And that's the biggest takeaway, is that in the smallest ways or in the biggest ways, we have that opportunity to be that person to somebody. Each one of y'all have been that person to me in my life. A few of y'all more than others, but each one of y'all have contributed to my life in a special way. I can tell you that for sure.
Well, Dennis, I was talking about my stroke. I did have therapy. Baylor Speech Clinic was very helpful. They had their for their master's candidates. They'd have their people that kind of go through and kind of working with you. And only thing, you got somebody different every semester, but they were very good, very good. But I had a brother in the church that was, he took me, and at this time I couldn't talk, I couldn't say anything, but I could hear and everything. And he took me to a bunch of lodges around. We just do it almost every night of the week. We'd go to somebody, a lodge, all the way around Gatesville, Waco, Event, Jonesboro, uh, uh, oh, all over the place. And I'll tell you, I love that. It was just so good to meeting all the brothers and everything. And the fact that he took some time out of his schedule to do that for me, I was just blown away. And uh, anyway, yeah, you're right. There's guys like that when you need them. they step up for you, and it just means more than anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Even at the highest levels, why would Arturo de Hoyos talk to me? Robert Davis, why would he text and communicate with me? Masons at the highest level will give the lowest Masons time. Just ask. They're good brothers.
Yep. Well, as a matter of fact, Bob will be at the symposium. He'll be speaking at the symposium with me and Billy Hamilton and
Nick Jones and Jeff Bennett,
Nick Jones and Jeff Bennett.
which is Jeff Messer's mentor.
Nice. Nice.
Well,
Yeah,
the
in
point
fact,
is,
the other
these are
day
the
when
big guys. But if you reach out to them, they'll reach back to you. They'll help you. They'll be there for you.
Yes. Well, and there's something to be said about that. You know, I've said it before. When I was younger in the transmission world, selling transmissions, I used to listen to Zig Ziglar all the time. And one of the things he would say in almost every one of his sales CDs is that you can have anything in life you want. You just have to help enough people get what they want first. And that I believe that to be true. That, you know, every person that you see that you look up to that's been that's in some advisory form in any way, shape, or form, he has been very helpful to others to be able to get there. It hasn't things are rarely just given to us. I mean, we see a lot of instances where, you know, special accolades are given to certain people and things like that. But when it comes to the real leadership in the fraternity, the people that are the real leaders within our fraternity, they have given a lot of themselves to the fraternity to get to where they are today. And that's not easily forgotten. And those aren't habits those aren't habits that fade, and those aren't habits that are forgotten, in my opinion.
I aspire to be like those good men.
I agree. I will always show up to the call. Now, I will always be 5 or 10 minutes late. Everybody who knows me knows that. My name is Dennis Lates. Everybody knows it. But I will always show up. And all of y'all laughing have all witnessed that already, I know. But that's a true story. True story.
When
I
is
will say that, you know, you were talking about being there for brothers whenever they reach out to ask for you, but also be willing to ask for help. To be
Yes.
willing to ask for help, because when you do, it activates the person that's ready to help. So be willing to ask for help when you need it.
Being willing to knock is a certain humility. There's a certain humility in that. And if you're not willing to ask for help, then that's only foolish pride that holds you back. I think that's an excellent point, in my opinion.
When is that?
That was my final thoughts.
No, those aren't final thoughts. We're not quite there yet.
When is the symposium? At the end of February again?
February 21st. There's going to be a festive board put on by Hillcrest on the 20th on that Friday, and then the 21st at James A. Smith Lodge in Farmers Branch. Okay. There will be the symposium, and there's going to be breakfast, and I'm told it's going to be a healthy breakfast, and then there's going to be a hearty lunch.
Does a healthy breakfast mean tacos?
No.
Probably like fruit and things, and then we're gonna have barbecue for lunch.
See, if Brad's in charge of it, it's gonna be healthy lunch for sure. And then y'all all gonna go to the gym and work out.
No, I am not. I love you, Brad, but I'm not doing that.
We're gonna have neats and berries like Ural Gibbons.
Man, bro,
Hey, I just got to throw this in there. And I live in Oregon, Illinois. I'm 100 miles west from Chicago. We have the best brisket up here and the best barbecue. And you know why?
Whoa,
Because he came
whoa.
from Texas.
No,
because
No,
he came
can't
from
beat
Texas.
he came from Texas. Hold on, let me finish.
There you
Oh,
He came
go.
from Texas.
Okay, you're saved.
Yeah, you almost got in a lot of trouble with
I know.
that.
I just wanted to say he came from Texas. He's now living here. That's
That was
why I
very
love it.
nearly a lynching.
Get a rope.
I was fixing to say.
Somebody get a rope.
I know you stirred up a hornet's nest without
I
even
did.
finishing your sentence. My gosh. Golly, talk about increasing viewership. That's the way to do it, man. They'll get behind that one.
Actually, that should be one of the things we don't talk about at Lodge: religion, politics, and barbecue. That's the 3 things you shouldn't talk about.
Well, he's from Texas, and goodness gracious, he makes the best darn brisket and barbecue I've ever had.
Nice, nice. Well, I'd like to say something. I'm going to throw something out there because I should have said it at the very beginning of this live because I I well I just wasn't thinking straight. I'm still taking a lot of medication right now, so my marketing skills are a little rusty, right, or a little clouded right now. I should have went over all this with Daniel first and let him come on and do it for me. But I had mentioned last week that some new things were going to be coming to Masonic Improvement. And 2 of the new things that have come as of this week is on the inner circle. There's different levels that you can purchase, right? There's like $1.99 or something like that. And then there's one that's $4.99. Well, I have, there was always this super level that was $25 a month, but I added another level that's $14 a month now. And what it is you get all the perks of the inner circle, right? As soon as you become an inner circle member, you no longer pay for or you no longer have to watch the commercials or any of that kind of stuff. But with this new level, you get a one-on-one Zoom with me each month, and as sort of like a mentorship program. And then for the higher level, you can get 3 or more mentorship Zoom meetings with me to try to help you to create and work through any issues that you may have or any goals that you've got set. It's kind of like when Brad, started his year as worshipful master, or actually a year before, we started talking and we would talk a lot through that year, and we went back and forth on these things, and he's always been a paid subscriber or inner circle member or whatever, but I don't even know what level it is, but we went through this multiple times, but I was trying to think of how I could increase the value to the members, right? And so in that way, that's what I'm doing. And in fact, on the booster level, I'm going to change that one up as well. And that's the one that most of you tonight are the ones that are on the show. Typically, on Sundays, they're all booster level inner circle members. But anyways, that's one of the things that I created going forward, is guaranteed one-on-one time with me to help with mentorship type issues that you might have that you don't feel like you can really talk to your lodge about. Sometimes you just need somebody from the outside looking in to help you work through some problems, or not problems, but help you work through some ideas and help you get them from paper to presentation. And so I'm your guy. That's what I'm offering, because we weren't offering that before, and I thought I would add that value uh, for that class of inner circle members. So that's what made me think about this discussion tonight about mentorship, because what it boils down to is I've always been available for people, but it does take a lot of my time doing the videos and all that kind of stuff, and along with all the other Freemasonry that I do and all the presentations I travel for. So doing the mentorship as part of our program here would just make it it just seems to fall into place. So anyways, enough of that. This isn't a big sales pitch. I was just trying to let y'all know about that new thing. That's one of the new things that's coming across. I've got some other things. As a matter of fact, we will start our final thoughts right after I finish this. I've got some other things that I will talk to you Inner Circle members about after I turn off the live tonight, and see what you guys think about it. And we'll make it short and concise. It's going to happen either way. I just wanted some ideas on how to tweak it to see if I'm on track with what might be helpful to all of our members, especially our Inner Circle members. With that being said, let's start some last thoughts. I'm going to start with Jason Reichenberg. The old Reichenberg. I'm not German. I'm not German.
Yeah.
I can't say it right. I'm more
allegedly
Scottish
am
and
German.
English.
I can't say it right either. No, I think one of the things that I've noticed is uh, even if you don't have a specific mentor or somebody that helps you with specific work or anything like that, the biggest thing that probably drives me crazy is when you go to a lodge meeting, you know the opening and closing ritual, it's not just for the officers, it's for everybody. But also, you know, actively watch and take mental notes on what's happening during the meeting. Because I don't know how many times I've heard it. Well, I got to the east and I just didn't know how to do any of it. It was all new, and it was like, had you not been sitting in lodge for at least 4 or 5 years? I mean, you've got to know a general plan on what is happening. But it's just it takes a mindset to sit back and actually watch and try and learn, even if somebody is not directly teaching you. Take that responsibility to uh, watch and see what's happening, and that way, when it comes your time or you get thrown in. Several times when I was not an officer that I got pulled into a pro tem position, and I had to be prompted a couple times, but I didn't completely not know what I was doing, because I had been watching and learning and paying attention. So there is a little bit of responsibility on your own. Even if you don't have an official mentor or somebody that is directly working with you. Um, there's a lot of stuff that you can learn on your own just by watching. It's my final thought.
That's an excellent final thought. Brother Hoff, you're next on my board.
So I would like to say, the Grand Lodge of Texas on Grandview has a mentor program called the Ashlar program, and it's a really good thing to do in a group setting. And you could print it off, and you can go through the question or read the little sections, and then talk about it in a group setting. It's, it's a really good way if you like lead a little study group or whatever you print it off, and that's a really good topic just to talk about. You can do each degree. It's got one for the candidate before he's even a Mason. After he has already turned in his petition, there's one for the EA, one for the photograph, and one for the master. There's even a section for how to mentor. So it's a really good, well thought out program. That's like I forget how many pages it is. It's like
It's a lot.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like 300 pages or something like. I don't even remember how many it is, but it's like a book. You'll run out of paper by printing the whole thing out. But anyway, I would recommend it because each little section's got some questions at the end as a review. Um, that's a really good starting point on building a mentorship program in your lodge. Um, Something outside of somebody that's teaching the work. Uh, so if you got an active lodge but you don't really have any mentors, it's a good place to start. Anyway, that's really all I got to say.
Nice. Larry, I think it's your turn. You're on mute.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
I don't have anything to say. Everybody, keep the faith.
Thank you, Larry. What do you got, Brother Parkinson?
Well, let me just say I love my brothers in Texas. I love Texas barbecue. And just a reminder, I do not put beans in my chili.
Nice.
I love Albert Pike, and I always pray and hope that I don't get expelled or excommunicated.
Amen.
I love you
Amen.
guys.
That's
I
the
love
goal.
you. I love you, and I'm happy at the 8 o'clock mark. Thank you, Brother Dennis.
Nice. I'm glad you liked it. Brother Messer?
Hey, all right, here we go. So I've had the good fortune, I should say, of mentoring lots of young guys when I worked in the oil field. If you've got any experience with the oil field, you know that if you come in and you pay your dues, you can probably climb the ladder. And I was fortunate enough to promote a number of guys, and more than one of them would tell me, "Well, how are we going to do that?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to trust you to do it, and then we're going to go do it." Whether that was a particular task on a job or running a business remotely, you know. So it's always, while we talk about who's mentored us, I think it's always refreshing to have those guys come back to you and tell you how much they appreciated their help. I actually kind of miss that in my current role or in my current life, being a business owner, that I don't get the opportunity to mentor as much as I did professionally. But I do get to mentor guys Masonically, believe it or not. And some of y'all know Dominic Sanfilippo, who was a young man that came to us, finished his work last year.
Very intelligent and promising. Can't wait to see what he does.
Well, I'm gonna I got two final thoughts. One, as several have said, I enjoy these calls and I love each and every one of you. I'm excited about getting up to Dallas here in a couple of weeks and seeing a bunch of you. I've been a bit distracted tonight. One of the things that I have asked Dominic to do after seeing Most Worshipful Rumsey's coin at Grand Lodge was to develop a series of talks on the symbolism in the coin.
That's a good one.
After he and I threw it back and forth for a while, he decided that he would just focus on the face of the coin because there's a lot going on the back of the coin and did not do either side of this service, if you will. I just proofread what he's going to present at Lafayette Lodge on Tuesday night. If there is anybody if it is within the length of your cable code to be in LaGrange on Tuesday night for our Masonic moment, it's going to blow your socks off. I stopped reading the paper because I didn't want to give the story away to myself. And I highlight that one because he is a very bright Mason, and the waters run deep with him. But just also as I've sat on not all of these calls, but several of them, and we hear about that we joke about the fish fries and we talk about the lodges that are dying and how I'm the youngest guy in the room and I'm in my 50s and all that. But man, when it comes together and you see guys really start to take to it like Dominic is, it makes it all worth it. So everybody keep doing the good work, and hope to see you soon. And if anybody can make it Tuesday, dinner's at 6.
Yeah, that's an excellent final thought. And if I can start driving by then I'll come up there. I would love to see it. I'll be available. It's just a matter of if I can drive by then or not. That is an excellent final thought. Thank you, Brother Jeff. Brother Weber, Pass Right Worshipful. If that was a title in Texas.
Well, if it were, great, but I'm not here about the titles or any of that nonsense. But I want to go back to Brother Messer real quick. I want to make sure I'm seeing this right. LaGrange is right there on 71 and 77. Is that correct?
Yes, the lodge is about I don't know, somebody that's driven past it that's better with mileage. I don't know, it's what, half a mile, three-quarters of a mile south on 77 from 71.
Yeah,
Yep.
give or take. You can't miss it. If you're coming down from Waco, it's right there on the right.
Yeah, it's a big, beautiful lodge on the right.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna try. We'll see what happens. But that just sounds like a lot of fun to me.
If you hit the Dairy Queen, you went too far.
Yeah, if you cross the railroad tracks, turn around. And,
Okay,
and
fair
not
enough.
and not to steal any of your time, Brother Weber. I'm telling you guys, I'm blown away with what he's put together. Man, he comes at everything from 3 different angles. All
Yeah,
right, done.
Dominic is sharp.
Well, and the thing that really just intrigues me is I'm absolutely fascinated with the Grandmaster's coin this year. Um, my Grandmaster, right worshipful now reader, uh, is the first one that I am aware of that included skulls on his tie, and to have most worshipful Rumsey put it right out there on his coin. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that because it is, in my opinion anyway, one of the most powerful symbols that we have in Freemasonry. That memento mori, that intimate knowledge that we will die. Our time here is limited, and it is absolutely an incentive to do what needs doing in a timely manner, and use that as an impetus for making ourselves into that perfect dash log. And that's my final thought.
All right. That's a good one. Brother Haston.
Thank you, Dennis. Let's see, we're talking about mentors tonight. Mentorship is a big part of Masonry in general. From the time people come in, we talked earlier about how many lodges have just older members in it, but you'd be amazed. A lot of these 30-something guys coming in, they want that older generation's thought and mentorship. They crave it, and they latch onto it. So just because you've got a lodge of 50 plus, do not even begin to think that means you can't bring in members. You very much can, and they will latch onto that. That mentorship will bring them along. They'll enjoy it. They'll be part of them. But moving on from that, we talk about perfecting the ashlar. There's a saying that my daughter was, as she went through med school, see one, do one, teach one. You start off by seeing, right? You receive everything, then you do it, then you teach it. And that whole process, including that last part, is very much of perfecting the ashlar. If we go and we mentor, it doesn't just help the person that we are mentoring. It helps ourselves. It helps our whole character. It helps our whole being. It helps our fraternity, obviously. I just want everyone to, mentorship is not something that you receive only. It is definitely something that you give, and that it's needed. especially for everybody in this group who, like I said, most of us at least are not brand new guys. So I'll just leave it on that.
That's a good one. Josh Kovar.
Oh, my turn, huh? Well, final thoughts. I don't have much. I'll just say this. It was a great discussion tonight about mentorship. Um, and as most of us have said, this group here has helped mentor not myself, but many of us together. So I don't want Dennis's head to get any bigger, so I won't mention his name anymore. But what I would like to mention is I
It's
had the
very
opportunity
fair.
to go to Nacogdoches.
Very fair.
You're welcome. I had the opportunity to go to Nacogdoches this weekend to hear the Grand Master speak at his second conference. I did not make Longview. I made Nacogdoches. I would encourage everyone in this group and everyone listening to this podcast, if you have the opportunity to go to one of his conferences, you need to go. And you will very quickly realize why it is Master Masons only, because it gets into some deep thought and conversation of masonry in Texas. It's something that we've brought up here a couple times, I think, asking the hard questions about lodges and membership and where we're going from here and what we need to do. So I would encourage everyone to attend at least one. I know I am attending two more with Brother Burris, Right Worshipful Burris, sorry. So yeah, I would. It's a very deep conversation, and I don't want to get into the particulars of it because he articulates it very well on his thoughts and theories and stuff, and so. But it's a good conversation, so I would encourage everyone to attend at least one, and that's all I got to say.
That's a very good one, and I would like to reiterate that I strongly believe, and I think that most of the people believe that here. It's hard for bigger city people to understand this because they have to deal with traffic that'll take them 2 hours to get 10 miles. But for people like me down in South Texas, if you've got a Grand Master that's within 2 hours of you, you should make that conference if you can. I used to say an hour, hour and a half, and sure, if you're up in a congested area, maybe so. But if you're in the sticks like I am, if it's within an hour and a half to 2 hours, you should absolutely make your Grandmaster's conference or event, whatever that is that they're doing. You should absolutely make that unless it conflicts with a very old and traditional thing that your lodge has been doing from time immemorial. Otherwise, if not, then you should definitely make your Grandmaster's event. I just wanted to reiterate that because I strongly believe it. I always have, and I think that it cannot be said enough because that's where you meet a bunch of the leaders around Texas, and if you ever want your voice heard, that's where you're gonna have it heard, is within those conversations. Go ahead, bro. Oh, and also on this show. Let me also on this show. Brother Dutton, last but not least.
How do I follow that? I just want to say there's a lot of mentors in my life, Masonic and otherwise, that never have known they were my mentor because there's never an official conversation of, oh, you're my mentor, I'm your mentee. I never asked for them to be my mentor, but they became my mentor. There's many men and ladies as well that have done that for me, inside of work, outside of work, inside of social circles, outside of all throughout my life. And as I've sat here and reflected a little more, I could probably name off 10 men, that I've met in masonry alone that have impacted me in such a good way and put me on a different trajectory than I would have had otherwise. Um, and that's just in the last, 30 minutes or so thinking. Okay, oh gosh, yeah, there's this guy and this guy and this guy. And there's this guy who taught me my work. There's this guy who keeps being patient with me when I keep trying to say the wrong pronunciation of a word, even though it's in the back of the monitor, right? And sometimes that starts out as a moment of maybe frustration for me, of like, dang it, that old guy's correcting me. But I know it's not because he's upset at me, but because he understands the importance of that pronunciation and why it's said that way and why we do it this way. And when I came into Masonry, especially, I didn't necessarily understand that. I didn't have a respect for that. That respect has grown. Respect has grown for men in Masonry because of those things, and understanding that. And maybe that's the brother who just took time with me to say, hey, how's your day going? I had a gentleman call me. We did something, as a men's retreat outside of Masonry, outside of church, outside of everything. It was just, hey, let's go do this. And reached out, he reached out and he said, hey, I'll have to call you later because I'm having some things going on with my family. He reached back out the next day and said, Daniel, it sounds like you need to talk. Let's talk. And just that alone, being able to say like, hey, something's going on, let me reach out. That brotherhood, that love that we have for each other, it was mentioned earlier, like there's authors that, will give you time. Dennis will give you time. I know Dennis, hey, this is part of the inner circle now. That's great, right? It's just like, hey, this is the value that Dennis is providing to us from the inner circle. This call in of itself is wonderful to be on because it's like, hey, I get to meet people, get to talk to people, get to get ideas. I put something out on Texas Freemasonry earlier this week. I had 2 different guys reach out to me from this group. Another person text me, and it was direct messages of like, here's an answer to what you're looking for, which is wonderful, right? Didn't solicit that other than a post in Facebook, and then, hey, here's some direct messages of what's going on. And those are all wonderful things. And it's all about connection. And Dennis, I know you mentioned Zig Ziglar earlier, right? And I really believe that when you help other people achieve their goals, achieve what they want in life, you will get what you want because you recognize it's not about yourself. It's not about being self-centered. It's not about what's in it for me. It's about how can I help other people? And when you become more selfless, when you become of the mindset of let me help other people, you grow as well. And that's where you become a mentor to other people, sometimes unofficially, sometimes without even recognizing it. And hopefully in your life, that's happening no matter what. And with that, I'd close my thoughts.
Man, you guys make it difficult for me to have my final thoughts. That's probably good for y'all, right?
I was going to say, you don't have to.
But I will anyways. Something that really I really hung on to is well, there's 3 things that I really hung on to. Number 1 was the selflessness. The degrees of Freemasonry are actually degrees on how to become altruistic, and it's very difficult. I mean, most of us in our human life will never be able to become altruistic. That was Jesus was the last example of that in the modern world, really. I guess Gandhi was pretty close to it, but Jesus was really the last altruistic natured person that we have to reference in our daily lives very easily. That's the easiest way that we can go about it. And I like that because of what Zach said, and that is that we come into this and the very basis of the very foundation of what we are as Freemasons is a brotherhood of altruistic natured men that was established to be a mentorship program. You're starting out as an apprentice going to a fellow craft and then a fellow craft to a master mason. I mean, it doesn't get more simple than that it requires mentorship and able to surpass those different rites of passage as men and masons, right? So at our very foundation, that's what we are, is a brotherhood of altruistic men supporting each other and creating more altruistic men to help in this life journey. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, the third thing, is that reward. And that reward isn't necessarily monetarily, or it's not from the pat on the back. And I appreciate the accolades today, brothers. I really do. I don't take that lightly. But the reward that Jeff was talking about, seeing that brother who just latches on and he gets it. And then you see him present and speak, and he's able to teach you something that you weren't thinking about moments before. And this is the new guy that comes in. That inspiration that you get from that new member that becomes your mentor without you even realizing it. Because you're humble enough to accept that and to be proud for him and be proud for yourself in knowing that you got to be a part of his journey. Because hopefully we all have those people in our lives, especially in Freemasonry, that we know are going to outpace us in our journey. Hopefully we all have those people that we're trying to develop as we go, that we're hoping will do better things than we will. And we all have our accomplishments, as men and Masons in life, and we all have a lot to be proud of, but we all strive for better for our children as men. So naturally, for our apprentices, we have the same type of aspirations for them. And I can't tell you how rewarding that is to see that happen. I kind of felt the same way with Brad when he had such an astounding year as a master of his lodge. Even though I only helped him in the very beginning stages, he did all the work. He put in all the work and still puts in the work that I could never put in. I am not that I am not that brother. I am not that structured. I'm not that I'm not that patient. I'm not that wise. He put in the work to make it a success. But, that's being able to see that is the greatest reward that we could have. And we need to recognize that, because that's the juice that's going to help you with the next guy. That's the energy that you're going to take forward to encourage you to latch onto that next guy that's actually asking for help. Because unless we're looking, we're not going to see that person asking. We're not always going to see that person asking. So those are my final thoughts. Like I said, brothers, I had just something real quick I wanted to pass by y'all after I finish this episode. Like I mentioned earlier, there are different ways, different levels of inner circle membership that anyone can join our inner circle, and it starts with being ad free all the way up to the perks of having my one-on-one assistance in different things, either once a month or several times a month, whichever you choose. But I'm trying to create more value, and the discussion that I'm going to have with these guys after is just another step in trying to create more values for the inner circle members. Of course, I always want value for the brothers out there, the friends and brothers out there, because this is not purely a Masonic channel, even though we mostly speak on Masonic matters. We've had several brothers that have started out as friends and then became brothers through listening to this channel. And so everything that you do is supporting that. And that's what we're trying to do, is just be that island that somebody can land on and have a few guys there with him in his corner. So with that being said, you guys stick around for just a couple minutes, and all you people out there in the great wide world of the web.